Declan Kelly, thanks for joining us. I'm really excited about this podcast because we've not covered crypto investment yet on the podcast, and it's something that I really don't know much about, and I can't think of a better person to take us through it than you. So thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, mate.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And I think before we get into, all things crypto, let's just start from a bit about your background and what led you to where you are with Crypto Glasgow now and all that you guys are doing.
Yeah, so I started crypto in 2017, so I was about 24, 25 at the time, and I was working full time. I was in the roofing business. It was my dad's roofing business.
Yeah.
Just a small business. There was 3 people that done roofing in the business. But in the background, I was always interested in investing stocks mainly. My dad was into stocks,
Right.
so he would teach me about stocks from a young age. I started working from 15 years old, so I left school at 15 to go straight into business.
And what kind of stocks and shares was
So he was big into dividend paying stocks. So
Right.
he taught me the kind of concept of that early on, and I learned early on that I can make free money from just holding a thing. It can make me free money.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a great idea. So he taught me that early on. So that gave me a taste for investing in general. And there was when I was at school, he says if you get good grades, I think it was every 1 or A, whatever it is, you'll get £1,000. But if you don't get a 1, you get nothing. So I never got any A's. Or did I get? No, I never got any. The best I got was a 2. So I never got any. I don't know if he was confident when he was saying that. It'll be fine. But that money was going to be for stocks, to put into stocks. So from an early age, I was really stock focused. I wanted to. To dive deep into that.
Learning ground. The fact that your father was trying to incentivize you to start thinking about investments at a really young age, because we talk about a lot of people getting kind of caught in the trap. They're not teaching you about wealth creation or anything like that in school. You don't learn about it in your formative years unless you've got that sort of influence of someone else who really puts you on. But that's a great starting point for you in life.
Definitely, and that's a good point that I learned nothing of that in school, and then as soon as I'm out working, 15 years old, my dad's on at me, stocks, you can build wealth, it can make you money. He would tell me, I just got paid my dividends this month, and I'd be like, free money, it's crazy. So that's what basically opened my eyes to investing, and from then I would just start investing. He was back at the time, I don't know if you know, TD Waterhouse. They're not TD Waterhouse anymore, but
No.
I would use them for buying stocks. So over the course of the next 10 years, I was just working roofing, but doing small investments, not anything massive, in stocks. And then in 2017, I found crypto, and I decided to go much harder investing in crypto because I learned about what it can offer. So I started investing much more heavily in crypto. Fast forward to 2020, been investing in crypto for 3 years, and me and my friend, my business partner, we watched a CNBC documentary on what is the highest paid jobs in America, and number 1 on the list was consultants. They're the highest paid job in the world. So right, consultants are the most highest paid job. We were going to leave our jobs to go full-time crypto investing.
Yeah.
So we can consult on this as well, while we're investing in crypto. A bit like yourself, basically. You do the thing and you consult on it, because you're experienced in it. So,
but that first point of just saying, look, we want to maximise the amount of value we can bring and the amount of money we can make for it. So let's just look at the fundamentals of where that is.
Yeah.
That's exactly how, I approach things in the early years when I was trying to pick a job or what I was going to go to uni as. Just wait, well, what jobs make the most money?
Mm-hmm.
And it was doctors, lawyers, and accountants at that time, way back when. And, I didn't have the grades to be a doctor or a lawyer, so I became a chartered accountant. Fast forward to our business journey, and it's like, right, Laurie and I are at a point where we want to start business and we want to get away from our corporate jobs. Where do people make the most money? And then you look at the Sunday Times Rich list, and either people are making their money in property or they're making a shitload of money and then investing it in property. So it just seemed like the natural progression. Okay, let's go with there where the returns are highest. It's such a basic way to think, but you know, look where it gets you. You know.
Aye, definitely. It just made sense for us because we were going to just leave our jobs and just go full time in crypto because we'd amassed a portfolio over 3-4 years by like investing over 3 or 4 years in crypto. And in crypto, a kind of base minimum number, which sounds ludicrous but it's true, is like 10 times your investment. That's what you can expect. Over years, it's not.
Yeah, it's not a short term.
It's over years, and it's a really rocky road. It's really difficult to make 10 times your investment, but it is throughout the past.
It should be, right?
Exactly, and that's what I think. We can talk about crypto later, but that's where people get it mixed up. They think it's like an easy amount of money, but it's really difficult to get to that. To get to the 10x, like there's 99% losses in there as well, which is why you can make so much.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are losing big on it. So yeah, in terms of the progression of the business, we're like, well, we're in crypto anyway. We're going to leave our full-time jobs because I was roofing at the time and my portfolio was going crazy in 2020, and I was managing like my dad's crypto portfolio this time, my mum's portfolio, like my family's portfolio. I was managing. But I was up fixing a roof and I'd be on my phone and it was just too much. I was like, I can't do it.
And then probably when you're seeing the returns that you're getting from that versus what you can earn on a roof in a day.
Exactly.
It doesn't stack, right?
Exactly. So, yeah, in 2020, we're like, right, we're going full-time in crypto. I can't, like, my family's wealth is on the line with it.
Yes.
So it's like, I said that because my mum was, like, worked in the office. My dad was, like, the roofer. And I says to him, I was like, look, I can't work anymore like this. I just can't have the time. I was like, but it's for us. Like, I need to leave, but it's for all of us.
Everybody
will benefit. So yeah, we just took the jump, started the consultancy, and it just really took off from 2020 because that's when crypto 2021 got really popular with lockdown. And everything got really popular then. So that was just the progression from leaving my work to go full time in crypto and then build a consultancy off the back of that.
So, I mean, you mentioned briefly your business partner, Donald Cameron, right?
Yeah.
Tell me how that partnership started and the dynamics of it and how it worked.
So I met Don. Well, me and Don have been friends for about 15 years, and the way me and Don ended up in business was we're close friends for 15 years, but both of us had a drive for something better. We had a drive to make money. We weren't big into partying, we're big into going out. We're just big on making money and just try and get some freedom. So Don, he was in the banking industry. He worked in like Deloitte, a big, they audit banks.
Yeah.
So Don found out about crypto through someone in his work, and then he told me, but also at the same time, Don was telling me how archaic and how old and slow the banking system was because he was in there seeing it all. He's looking through files and it's massive books. It's like so old school. It's terrible. So it's like he was seeing with his own eyes how bad the banking system was. And then we were learning how bad the bank system was through crypto. So crypto is basically it's a currency, but it's a better form of a bank basically. So we were seeing how bad the banks were and we're seeing how good crypto was. So it ended up becoming a total no-brainer. So 2017, 2018, me and him just really went down the crypto rabbit hole and really researched it, worked our own jobs, but in the same time we were just all in on crypto. So yeah, the dynamic of that was just both of us would live our own separate lives. He would work in the bank, night shift, I would work roofing, but we would always be talking about crypto in between then.
Yeah.
And yeah, just a natural progression of, we've been in it for 3 years together. We're really knowledgeable on it because all we did was research it every day. So it just made sense for us to go into business together and just start something to do with crypto.
I think there's a couple of interesting points there. One, you raise about the archaic nature of banks. And, you know, I think this is something we've spoke about quite a lot in the podcast because, you know, people have the concept of banks being this safe place to park your money, and any of this sort of investment stuff we're talking about, be it crypto or property or stocks and shares, is risky and inherently much more risky than leaving your money in the bank. But leaving your money in the bank usually means your money is being devalued every year on year. So you are losing.
Yep, guaranteed to lose.
Not only that, you've got the fractional reserve system in the bank where they're only required to hold like 10% of your funds and the rest of it they're lending out. It's up to them how they do it. We all seen how that worked in 2008 with mortgage-backed securities, and it was a disaster. So to take a view on banks as this safe place, there was a story from my corporate days of we had made a couple of million in Russia over the course of a year, and we'd structured the business to keep all of our funds in Cyprus because Russia was inherently risky to keep funds, and it was also tax efficient. Well, in 2008, when the bank had to be bailed out, the Bank of Cyprus was bailed out by the European Bank, they ended up basically saying that 50% of the value above the uninsured amount had to be taken by the bank to help its cash flow and buoyancy, because they were trying to attack Russian money that was in Cyprus, and that was going to be exchanged for shares in the Bank of Cyprus. So instantly your 2 million became 1 million overnight, and you get these worthless shares in the Bank of Cyprus. It's just this stuff does happen. These banks aren't infallible.
Exactly, and that's why I'm really passionate, I would say, about crypto, because it's powerful in so many ways. And we'll just talk mainly about Bitcoin when we're speaking about crypto, because that is the main crypto. It's the number one. It's the original crypto. But so if you own Bitcoin right now, no one can remove that from you. Nobody can confiscate it from you. It can't be stolen. It can't be hacked. It can't be taken from you. The government can't come in and say, we need to take this. It's not like it's held in a bank that's insolvent and then it disappears and you get 70 grand back from insurance from it. Nobody can confiscate that from you. So that's the power of crypto, the power of Bitcoin.
And
there's more to it.
Important to understand that any asset that you own that is within the reach of a government and backed by a regulatory system can be taken away. We think about all these properties we own. The reality is there could be a massive shift in the government, and those assets could be seized.
Exactly.
Or you could have this unknown tax liability that comes from nowhere because of a change in legislation, and you can't pay it, and then your assets are gone. And these are genuine risks that happen, right?
Nail on the head. Like that is nail on the head stuff, and that's why I think that even if you're not in the crypto space or you're not interested in crypto, if you're wealthy or if you're an investor, having something parked in the likes of Bitcoin, it just minimises your risk, because your banks could be closed, your property can be confiscated, whatever it is, your stocks can be confiscated. Bitcoin is the only thing that can't be confiscated. So just having a portion of your wealth in there can protect you from the likes of overreaching governments or new legislations, whatever it is. So there's a lot of power in Bitcoin, which is why I became like really sure on it. To be honest,
focused on it. I think the other interesting thing for me when you're telling the story of your partnership with Don was just the power of being able to bounce ideas off each other. And I found this at the start when we were starting to look at property investment. I had Laurie, and we were just constantly bouncing stuff off each other. Have you heard about this? Did you see this? That to me pushed us both forward to another stage that we wouldn't have got to. And even now in our business, there'll be technical aspects that I have a better grasp of, and there'll be other things that Laurie's much more accomplished at, and the partnership of the two works. So I think it sounds to me like it was something in the early that probably gave you a higher drive towards the interest that you had in currency, the fact that you were kind of sharing that journey with someone.
Definitely.
And a lot of people start an investment, it can be quite a lonely thing. And again, that's another thing that we can maybe get into later about Crypto Glasgow and the sort of community you've built around that. We're doing something similar on the property investment side, building a community and people trying to achieve similar goals, and the power of that is not to be underestimated.
100%. That's major key, and it's always something we recommend to people, that if they're getting into crypto, make sure you join a community, make sure you've got a friend there, make sure you've got someone that you can check in with, because times get dark, times get lonely, times get really tough. So just having somebody there to bounce off, because there was times because we sat in losses for like the first 3 years we were investing in crypto. It was like losses, like hard losses. So during that 3 years, there was times where I was like, I'm sick of this, it's a load of nonsense.
Yeah.
And Don would be like, no, keep going, it's supposed to be like this, we know that, we've learned it all, like keep going. And then there'd be times Don was getting annoyed and I'd be like, no, let's keep going. So just having somebody there is major key, because as you say, it's a lonely space. So if you can have someone that's on the same journey with you, they're all going through the same things, they've got the same risks, it'll make the journey manageable on the down days.
I couldn't deal with the level of challenges that we have in our business on my own. You know, as you say, not everybody's got having a good day, you know, and just having that fallback, you know, knowing someone's got your back on everything, it's so powerful.
100%.
So imagine someone who's completely new to cryptocurrency, they're about to start. What is the kind of fundamental advice you would give to someone right at the start?
So first of all, I would say you need to learn about the asset first. And there's a saying, right, that, well, it's my saying, that I've never met anyone ever, I've met thousands of people through crypto that has learned about crypto, bought crypto, and then like left and never came back. Anyone who's learned about crypto and understood it has never left, ever. You don't leave crypto. Once you understand it, you don't leave. The only people that leave is people that come in for quick cash and they end up losing a bit of money and then they leave.
Someone's told them this coin's going to do well, I'll throw some money at it. It doesn't work, right?
Exactly. But the people who understand that our currency is worthless, our currency is not backed by anything, it's a fugazi, they just print it out of thin air, inflation's rampant, we're getting poorer every year. People that learn that, and then they see Bitcoin as this self-standing asset that is out with everything else, then they build confidence to invest. So at first I would say just learn about the asset, but I also think to truly care enough to learn about something, you do need to have some form of skin in the game.
Yeah.
First of all, when I invested in crypto, I put in £500 and that was enough for me to care, to learn.
Yeah.
So I would say if even just invest 100, 200, whatever it is, just to get a bit of skin in the game, to care enough to research, and then just research like mad, research the current financial system that we use, see all the holes in it, see all the errors in it, and then you're like, oh, I get it. I get why you use Bitcoin. I get why Bitcoin is a opt out of that system.
I mean, that's a really important rabbit hole for people that are starting to, you know, I mean, you give the analogy all the time of the Matrix, kind of escape from the system that has been built around us.
Yeah.
That keeps the majority of people down for the rest of their life, and at least in terms of building any serious wealth, is understanding the system. And the government will use clever words like quantitative easing and technical language that is just to disguise what they're actually doing, which is just printing a shitload of money that is, you know, backed by nothing, and devaluing the pound. It seems to be going back from bad to worse, you know, through the period of COVID and the amount of money that was printed. You know, I go back to 2008, and you know, we had this global financial meltdown, huge amount of money printed to bail out banks. And I feel like we never really paid for that at that point, because interest rates went down very quickly.
Yeah.
And then for people like even me in my late 30s, all I've ever known really as an adult is super low interest rates.
Yeah.
And people have got hooked on that. You know, 90% of people are living in houses that technically they shouldn't be able to afford because interest rates have been so, you know, artificially low for so long.
Yeah.
Right? And you're now at a point where the 2008 mess is catching up with us. We've got the COVID mess catching up with us and all the money that they printed there. And we're seeing massive inflation. And talk about inflation being down at 7% now. Even when it was up at 10, in reality, it's much higher.
Oh, exactly.
So, you know, the value of your pound is just losing so much. And it's ultimately, as you say, a complete fugazi. It's not backed by anything. It was taken off the gold standard in the 70s, I think, by Reagan. The facts are, you know, it's as good as the government that's issuing it, and our government is fucked.
Yeah. surprised at how well you know the mess of the current financial system, and you're not in Bitcoin. Like anybody that's aware of how rotten the system is, the flight is to Bitcoin. Of course, you're in property, which is like that's the kind of the gold standard asset. It's like really sound and secure.
But it's as secure as it can be, that's still regulated by a government.
Of course, so it's like, I think Bitcoin in general is right up your street, because that's all you need to know before you get into Bitcoin is about the current system. Once you know about the current system, Bitcoin becomes super easy, because anything that's negative about the current system, Bitcoin fixes it. There's a kind of meme, Bitcoin fixes this. It fixes a lot, and it's because it's not controlled by a government, it's not controlled by an entity, no one can overreach it, no one can change it. It's just a currency that everyone can use, but nobody can control. So
do you think the government are going to try and regulate it at some stage?
Well, yeah, they can regulate it, but they can't enforce regulation on it, because you can use Bitcoin, anyone can use Bitcoin from anywhere. It's permissionless, so they can gatekeep certain apps that you use to access Bitcoin. But if you just use the Bitcoin network itself, there's no gatekeeper there, which is another point of Bitcoin. It's helping unbank people. So we don't really see much in our countries where, like in the West, where we've all got access to banks, we've got access to debt. It's countries like Argentina, Africa, their inflation is thousands of %, their inflation is ludicrous, but they also don't have access to bank. So Bitcoin serves like the unbanked people. Over here, like we need to be given permission to use a bank, but Bitcoin is like, no, anyone can use this. It's for everyone.
We've actually seen a bit of a run over the last little while of quite high profile people being debanked, and I heard recently Nigel Farage talking about that he'd been debanked, and they've just said, nope, sorry, we don't want your business anymore. That is a really vulnerable, and it's incredible that these large institutions can say, I don't like your politics, so please leave.
It's crazy.
I mean, that is the world we're in. Cancel culture.
Exactly, and your banks can be cancelled, and we've seen it as well. And I don't know how much you followed the kind of COVID mania, but in Canada, anyone who was protesting against the government, they froze their bank accounts. So it's like everything can be taken off you. That's why like Bitcoin is a safety play. Yes, it's volatile, it can go up, it can go down, but at the end of the day, it's your assets. If you own 10 Bitcoin, you've got those 10 Bitcoin, nobody can take them off you. The government can't take them off you. So, but we've seen with bank accounts, the Canadian government says to the banks, close down this person, that person, close the bank accounts down. So it's the world has become crazy, and the only kind of flight to safety is Bitcoin. And I think over the next bull run that the Bitcoin will see over the next 2 years, the big narrative is going to be that flight to safety, because we've seen about 6 months ago, banks collapsing and people losing. If you've got millions of pounds in the bank, you're losing those millions. So we've seen a big pump in Bitcoin, because when if banks are just collapsing all over the world, where do you put your money that's safe, that's definitely secure? There isn't many places. Like only one of the only places was Bitcoin. So I could take my $2 million or pounds from the bank and put it into Bitcoin. I know it's not going to go to thin air. Yes, it might go volatile up or down, but it's still going to be there. But in a bank, that's a different story. That bank can collapse, which we've seen all across America, banks collapsing, and then your money just disappears. So I think the next narrative is going to be a massive flight to safety for people that are scared that their money is just going to be stolen by reckless, crazy, insane governments.
I think that's an interesting one for me, and for me, Bitcoin and understanding it's the level of safety that it brings, and it operates on the blockchain, which is a big part of that safety and security. And maybe you can give a kind of a better explanation of that than I could in as simple terms as you can, how the blockchain system works. And I guess my other question there is, what not all crypto or it's the only cryptocurrency that operates on blockchain.
No,
No.
all of them
All of them.
operate. Yeah, but all cryptos have all got most of them have got their own blockchain that they run on.
Yeah.
So Bitcoin is run on Bitcoin, but then you have the likes of the Ethereum blockchain, so that's its own blockchain, and a lot of other cryptos run on Ethereum. So there is different blockchains, but the blockchains are just a ledger. So the likes of in a bank where you've got all those those files of just transactions and data on paper in banks. The Bitcoin ledger is just it's a ledger that's distributed. So what it means is we can see the Bitcoin ledger, so we can look on that ledger and we can see every Bitcoin transaction that's ever happened. You can't do that with a bank.
And importantly, it's not stored centrally, right?
Yes, exactly. It's distributed. Yes, it's distributed. So a big thing about like the Bitcoin ledger, you can see every transaction that's ever happened. You can see everywhere the money moves. There's a massive misconception that Bitcoin is used by criminals, but it's the total opposite. Bitcoin is it's pseudonymous, which means you can see every transaction. It just doesn't say your name next to the transaction. It will say your wallet address next to the transaction. So the big misconception is that it's used by criminals when it's actually not, because if you're a criminal and you use it, you'll be caught because everything's visible there. You can be tracked and traced. So that's why the banks they don't like crypto, because banks are massive on fraud. They're huge on fraud. I think it was a few months ago, JP Morgan mistakenly deleted 6 million emails by mistake. So it's like that can't happen on crypto. So if you're doing anything dodgy on crypto, it's there. It's public to see. So
I mean, we've seen that in our business. Anytime we've got an investor or someone that's trying to do a property transaction and they say the money's come from crypto, going through the AML process of buying a property, the lawyers freak the fuck out. They're like, what? We can't accept this. They shut it down, and it's bizarre to me because, as you say, it's transparent. So, that is, it's just a reluctance of the system to keep up with how quickly things are moving, or a reluctance to maintain the status quo. And as you say, the legal system is archaic as a banking system, So, I guess what interests me is understanding, okay, we've got Bitcoin, we've got altcoins. When there is a new coin, you're looking at a new company to invest in. There are fundamentals there that you can analyse and do your due diligence. I can never say that word. Due diligence on. You can look into the back of the company, their profitability forecasts, their asset base, their client base. All that sort of stuff. When you're looking at property, you can do due diligence on the market and sold prices. Built-in, blah blah blah. How do you assess the value of cryptocurrency?
So there is a few different categories, I would say, when it comes to investing in cryptocurrencies, and so there's cryptocurrencies that have got a lot of fundamentals. So one of the big ones we use is an exchange. It's Swissborg, and they are an exchange. They're a wealth management app, and they basically, so you can buy gold on there. You can have any currency you want. You can have pounds in there, dollars, Bitcoin. They've got a lot of different assets within that app. So they're a wealth management app. They have a token that runs on that app that gets you cheaper fees, higher interest rates, etc. So that token has got a lot of fundamentals. It's got hundreds of thousands of users. So you can gauge off that. You can gauge how much the company's growing, how many more users it's going to get, how many more tokens is going to come into circulation, how many tokens are going to be burned. So there's tokens like that's got a lot of fundamentals that can back up your idea to invest in that. But then in crypto, which you've probably seen, which we spoke out a lot against, is the likes of like meme coins, where it's just total nonsense that's marketed and it's pumped and it's dumped. And a lot of people made a lot of money off that. A lot of people lost a lot of money on
Was there not a Kanye West one at one point?
There's been everything. There's been absolutely everything, like dentist coin and a lot of nonsense. And I think that's why we managed to grow in like 2020, 2021. We would speak out against it and just say, look, we would just see it insanity and say insanity rather than playing along with it. And we get a lot of kind of negative comments. Oh, you don't know what you're doing. Like, this coin's went up this much. Like, you don't know what you're doing. It's like, it's a dog coin, mate. It's like, I'm a serious investor. Yes, I could have made money on it, but I'm a serious investor. I'm investing serious amounts of money.
Yep.
I'm not going to invest in a dog coin. It's like, I use common sense. I can't do it. Even if it does make me money, I can't do it. So that's the thing about crypto. There's over 20,000 different cryptocurrencies. Like, we could create one now.
What are the differentiating factors that matter?
So fundamentals is key. So there needs to be a point in the coin. A lot of the meme coins, a lot of these just nonsense coins, they all base around community. That's what they'll say.
Yeah.
It's about the community. But the things I like to invest in, like Swissborg, they're a platform that's growing millions of users. They're really doing something in the world. They're a wealth management app, constantly building. So there's a lot of fundamentals there. Another one I like is XRP. They facilitate on cross-border payments. They're partnering with banks. They're making banks from that archaic time more modern. They're saving banks on fees. So it's like, I like cryptos like that with fundamentals. The likes of Bitcoin, it's your own sovereign of your own money. You own your own money. It's like a digital gold. Bitcoin, that's what it's kind of marketed as, which is true. So I like those ones that have got fundamentals. That's what I would look for. And sometimes fundamentals don't necessarily mean the biggest gains, which confuses a lot of people or makes a lot of people make wrong decisions, because these ones that have got fundamentals that are working in the real world, they've got businesses, like billion-dollar businesses. Ripple's a billion-dollar company, but the price doesn't go up. But Flocky dog coin goes up 1,000%. Like, no, I want to go in that. So it's like, I think it's this is a take. I want to do a kind of piece on this. I'm thinking of a video to do. I think crypto is another tool for the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer, and that's why the rich are over here buying the things that matter. The prices aren't going crazy, but they're buying real things.
Yeah.
Then they're distracting the masses.
Thing.
Yeah, with a lot of nonsense, dog coins, but it's going up this much. You can make $10 million if you buy this. But they're all buying trash.
Yeah.
So those poor, because it's poor people that's going to buy the trash. And then they're going to get even poorer when they lose it all.
I mean, this is one of the kind of fulcrums of investment is there are too many people that are attracted to the short-term wins and the big lottery wins and these things. And, I always say that the lottery is like a tax on hope, because, they'll put the lottery on there's no chance of winning it. But it's the same with guys that are just throwing a bit of money in the next big thing that's going to take off, make them rich in the short term. No long-term graft, no understanding of fundamentals, no learning the craft. This people that teach property investment courses as a quit your job in 90 days type thing. That's not us. It's long-term investment. It's fucking hard. Yeah. But there's some real prizes at the other end if you do it right.
Aye, exactly. The destination, I put a post out yesterday saying that, like, the road ahead is really rocky, but the destination is beautiful. But it's like, if you can go through that really rocky journey, you can get somewhere good, but it's not easy. It's really difficult. As you say, every industry is difficult, and every industry takes time to get there.
Yeah.
If you're wanting quick cash, like, you've no chance. Well, sorry, in crypto, it's possible to have quick cash if you're very lucky, like the lottery. If you're very lucky and you get in at this day, and then over the next week a coin does something crazy, yes, you are very lucky. But you need to be in it over time, because even if you did get in really lucky timing and you made a lot of money, you would lose it all anyway, because you've not learned any lessons. Like, you need to go through and learn lessons to get better, to gain experience.
The losses can be as valuable as the gains, if not more.
100%.
Over the course of your journey. And I think that's probably a bit of a challenge, potentially for you guys as well, with people coming to the network, is they're attracted to the idea of crypto investment when they see things like 5,000x in Ethereum in a year. Those types of things, you're like, fuck, I could put a quid in and get 5,000 pound later. You know, that is not the normality of investment, but it does occasionally happen. But you know, if you're going in for those massive short-term wins, they're just not going to be there.
Nah.
Not on a repeatable basis.
And you're going to be left disappointed. You're going to end up quitting. That's why when we first started in like the business in 2020, Bitcoin was cheap at the time. It was between $3,000 and $6,000. And we were saying to people, because we've been researching for years before, that the halving was coming up. That's where there is a supply shock in Bitcoin.
Yep.
And after that happens, the price tends to go up because of supply and demand, the same as every industry. So we were saying, look, there's a bull run coming, Bitcoin's going to go up, but it will crash again. It will crash another 90% because that's what it does. It has huge rallies and then it corrects. Same as every market, it has corrections. So we made people very aware of that from day one. Rather than selling people a dream, we says, look, yes, the price will go up, but it will crash again. Always remember it will crash again. Always, it's up, down, up, down. Over time, over the last 14 years, it only goes up. But during that time, it's zigzagging up. There's a lot of ups and downs on the way up.
And the advice through that period is to hold it for the long term.
Yeah, well, it depends. Yes, so the most profitable method in crypto is to buy and hold.
Yeah.
That's the most profitable method. People, again, get suckered in by the quick wins and they want to get into trading. But that's how you lose. That's how you lose.
I mean, you see that in most investments. Even if you look at the S&P 500 over the last 50 years, you'll see years where it goes down 20%. You'll see years where it goes up 30%. But on average, it's like 11.2% net return over the years. So hold for the long term, and it's a really, really interesting return. That's just the nature of investment. But a lot of people just go in blind without the knowledge, without the understanding, without really the expectation of how difficult it can be and how many hurdles are going to be. Mental hurdles mostly.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for us when we bring someone into our proper investment network to start their investing journey. The biggest thing we have to do is get them over the mindset hurdles of the fact that there's going to be challenges along the way. It's not a quick win, right, I'm going to be rich now. Because I paid for a course or whatever,
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same with property and crypto. It's really time. Like you can't just expect to get into crypto or property and then within 6 months you're done. It's like, I always say, if you're going to do something, give yourself at least a year before you even think about quitting. Then after a year you can decide, right, am I going to continue or am I going to quit? But give yourself a year minimum in anything that you do in life. And then over that time you can start to build knowledge, learn lessons over time. So time is a massive one. You need to be in something. If you're going to get into something, make sure you're sticking at it. Because if not, you'll just quit and you'll just be another number that quits. And people that succeed, the people that stick.
We've always seen those course junkies that just jump from one course to the next and never really, buckle in and properly give a particular strategy a go. It always goes back to as well, the sooner you get in with investments, the sooner you start to grow, the much more you can achieve. Just look at Warren Buffett. His biggest legacy of investing is how long he's been doing it. Let's talk about another one of the fundamentals on Bitcoin, and it's something that I think we're interested, because we talk a lot about inflation. Big focus just now, cost of living crisis, inflation through the roof, government keep printing money. Fundamentally, Bitcoin is a deflationary asset, right? So let's talk a little bit about that and maybe explain what we mean by that. Yeah,
so in terms of Bitcoin, there is 21 million Bitcoin that will ever be mined. So to get Bitcoin into circulation, it's the same as gold. It's easiest to compare it to gold. So gold doesn't just come into your hands, like just appear in your hands. You need to go mine that gold. So gold is value, it holds value, but you need to go work to get it. So Bitcoin is the same. You don't just get given Bitcoin, you need to go mine it. But rather than mining gold, you mine it physically. Bitcoin you mine digitally. So it's done in the simplest form. It's done by solving complex math puzzles. That's how it was designed. And 10 years ago, you could do that on your laptop. You could do it really easily on your laptop, solve these puzzles, and you get Bitcoin as a reward. But over time, there is a difficulty adjustment, and it just gets more difficult and more difficult. So you can't do it on a laptop anymore. It needs massive computing powers.
Yeah.
So there's like factories with miners solving these puzzles to earn Bitcoin. So it's like nations are mining Bitcoin now. Like it used to be 10 years ago, me or you would be mining it, but now it's like nations are mining it, or massive corporations are mining it. So yeah, Bitcoin is mined in the same way as gold. And what the miners are doing when they're solving those complex puzzles, they are like confirming transactions. They are making the network go. They're making the network tick. And it's all based on a fine balance as well. So it adjusts itself automatically. So if miners start switching off and stop solving those puzzles,
it'll make it easier.
It'll make it easier. So it's an amazing system.
You know, I was going to say that, you know, with the advent of artificial intelligence and the amount that we can do just now, what is to stop someone being able to solve these problems automatically through artificial intelligence without any effort and accelerate the process?
So that's another thing that comes with. So there's a thing in crypto, but it's in investing. It's like FUD, where it's like fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And that was one of the ones a few years ago. It's like quantum computers might be able to solve them quicker, which is basically what you're saying with AI. It's been a thing, but it's till now it's not happened. You still need massive amounts of computing power to solve these problems. So until now it's not happened. It's been 14 years. We keep hearing this, the AI is getting really good, really powerful, but to my knowledge it's
not at that.
Still the same. It's not at that point. But also as well, there is a massive power of Bitcoin is a government can't. So governments have got unlimited money. So the Bitcoin market right now is around 800 billion. At its peak, it was over $1 trillion asset.
Yep.
So even if it was $1 trillion asset, governments have got trillions. They could just essentially buy Bitcoin, but they can't. And the reason for that is it's distributed. So they would need to come buy it off me, buy it off everyone that owns it.
Yeah.
But also as well, the supply that isn't mined yet, that is released. That is released periodically over time, and you know when the issuance is. So the likes of Bitcoin, there is Bitcoin that is able to be mined every day into circulation, and every 4 years that number is halved. So the supply that is being mined is halved every 4 years. So we know the rate of the Bitcoins coming into circulation. We know that rate. With governments, we don't know.
No,
they just print trillions and that's it. They decide when it's printed. So it's like Bitcoin is knowing the rate of the issuance, which is the power as well. So it's like we know there's a hard cap of Bitcoin. There's 21 million.
Yep.
We know that this many million come into circulation every 4 years. You know everything. You know everything about Bitcoin. It's all published.
How much is in circulation just now?
So it's between 18 and there's a lot. Majority of Bitcoin is in circulation now.
Yeah.
It's like between 18 and 20 million. But also there is like 4, 5, 6 million that will be lost forever. So the total supply of Bitcoin is 21 million, but actually it's much less than that because a lot of them are lost. So
how did they get lost?
So
lost in wallets that people have lost keys.
Just a lot of different things, or people made thousands of them back in the day and they just threw them out because like Bitcoins was a few cents at the time, so like you would just kind of forget about it.
Yeah.
There was a time actually where I bought Dogecoin in 2018 and it was only £150 I bought, and I lost that. I forgot where it was, and then I just binned it. But then fast forward to 2021, it was worth £40,000.
Wow.
I need to find that, but I couldn't find it. So similar to that, people would have done with Bitcoin. It's not worth it, and I just leave it. It's like pennies at the time.
Yeah.
So those Bitcoins are lost. So there's a stat, and it's like there's more than 21 million millionaires in the world. If every millionaire wanted to buy one Bitcoin, they couldn't.
Yeah.
So it's like that shows how scarce Bitcoin truly is.
Yeah.
That every millionaire in the world can't even have one of these Bitcoins, which is why over time one Bitcoin will be worth $1 million. It'll be worth more than $1 million over time, because the price of Bitcoin is just like inversely correlated to money printing. Look, governments, if you want to print another $10 trillion, cool. That just means that Bitcoin's going to go up. And if you keep printing, that'll keep going up. Same with property. Like property 50 years ago was $5,000. Now it's 500 grand.
Yeah.
The property hasn't changed. The government, the money supply has changed. So the more they inflate the money supply, the higher Bitcoin will go. That's why there's no cap. That is, the government's money is infinite.
Yeah.
The price that Bitcoin can reach is infinite.
Yeah.
Both of them are infinite, because governments will never stop printing. The only way Bitcoin will stop going up is if governments stop money printing,
Yeah.
or if governments peg to gold or something like that.
Yeah.
And then it would be more steady. The price of Bitcoin would be more like the price of gold, where it's slightly going up.
And it sounds like at the foundation of establishing Bitcoin that there must be a bit of a story. You know, you say it's like the digital version of gold, and it's very much structured in that way that, you know, the more you mine gold, the less there is available, and it is a finite resource. There's only so much of it on the planet. It must have been a realization at some point that actually when we were on the gold standard and currency was tied to the amount of gold in your reserve, that kind of made sense.
It was. You hit the nail on the head. That's why Bitcoin was created. It was created off the back of the 2008 financial crisis, where a bunch of these really smart computer programmers seen their family, their friends, their countrymen be destroyed by bankers, be destroyed by the currency, be destroyed by the government, and they says, no, we need to make a fairer, better system of money that we can all transact in. And then they decided to build Bitcoin, and of course, as you say, it's very similar to gold. So they've used gold as a method to base off. So it was created off the back of the crisis, and then basically since 2008, it's only seen gains, which, when you break it down, it makes sense. It's the same as gold. Like, over time, gold's been really slow over the last 10 years, but over time, it's only going to go up. The more the money you print, the same way your shoes will get more expensive, your TV, everything gets more expensive. Bitcoin is a limited supply asset, finite. So that's why Bitcoin goes much higher than the likes of trainer. Like the training shoes will go up a few % over the years, but Bitcoin goes up much more because it's limited, it's finite.
What do you think about the inevitability of a central digital currency and how that could affect crypto in the future?
I think there's, as you say, it's inevitable. We don't have any control. It's coming. It's happening. That's why I think it's best to have some Bitcoin that you can opt out the system. I think it's a good thing as well, because it'll open people's eyes to digital currencies, and then when they look into digital currencies, what's the best one? Oh, Bitcoin's the best. Like, people do their own research and they find out for themselves. So I think it's going to be a natural progression. Where over the since COVID, we've seen the control has just been ludicrous across the world. So I think that's just a natural progression, unless there's some massive change in the world where there's some political leader stands up against all the control, which, I don't know, we're waiting on a saviour. Like, as a whole, we're waiting on a saviour on Earth. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, it's an interesting take on it, actually, because, I mean, my concern of a central digital currency is the likelihood that it's going to mean more control. You know, you could see taxes being taken straight off the top of your digital currency immediately, the elimination of cash, and, you know, the ability to do a transaction without a record of it.
You
know, and I'm not talking in terms of criminality. I'm just in terms of the government everything that you're doing.
Exactly.
You know, the elimination of cash, which almost seems inevitable now. You know, that you could end up in, you know, George Orwell's 1984 situation very, very quickly, you know, and I think that might then push a lot of people to try and keep off the radar and look more at these types of coins.
Yeah,
you know.
I think you've hit the nail on the head with that there. But in terms of the control, I feel we're already under that control a lot now. As I said, with Canada, they were closing down people's bank accounts. So because we're in a regulated system, they still have got that control. So I don't want the digital currencies, don't want that control, but I feel it's inevitable. Like, we're literally waiting on a saviour to change it, which isn't coming, because it seems to be they just elect all the puppets to do the same thing. And COVID really scared me with how tied every country in the world was. They all done the same thing. There was insanity and they all went along with the insanity.
There
wasn't many countries. I don't know if maybe there's like Japan, or there was a few maybe standard countries that never done the hysteria, they never done the insanity, but all of the countries basically fell in line and done what they were told, and that really scared me. I was like, shit, like, this is horrible that like, it's the world now, it's the one thing now, rather than individuals doing their own thing.
I think if COVID didn't open your eyes to the dangers of globalization and government control and all that, it never will. There was never a more blatant experience anyone could have, and they lived through it for well over a year.
Yeah. That's a scary thing.
Most people have just been desperate to go back to their normal life. I don't understand.
I know, that's a scary thing, how blatant everything was. And yeah, as you say, if they're not woken up by that, they never will be, because it was thrust in their face, how corrupt everything was, and how they'll never escape. But sometimes I think maybe people just don't want to think about it. They're like, no, just what I'm being told's true. It's like they're intentionally looking away.
It's sometimes easier to be oblivious, right? Because the question becomes, when you're not oblivious, what do I do about it? That requires effort and action and research and understanding, and most people are just happy to, right, I'll just watch Coronation Street tonight. You know?
And that's why I think, like, kind of building wealth has become even more crucial over the last few years, because if you can build some form of wealth, it can give you that freedom to, if there's a country that isn't going absolutely bonkers and insane, if you've got wealth, you can move over there. You can be free enough to move with the times. So I think building wealth's key for that. Just to give yourself that freedom.
I mean, I'm genuinely scared for anyone that is living the average life and not trying to build any wealth and create anything for themselves, because the situation continues to get harder and harder for them. You just need to look at the multipliers on income versus the cost of a house over the last 20, 30 years, and it's gone up by several X. It is getting harder and harder for the average person to be able to afford to live the average life, because wages aren't going up in line with inflation and all the other costs.
Exactly. It's getting worse and worse and worse, which is the scary thing. People think it's getting, like, the world's getting better with technology and stuff like that, but as people are so much poorer than they were, like, back, continually over the past 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, it's just worse and worse and worse.
And particularly in the UK, you know, the level of tax we pay here is horrendously high and continues to get higher. You know, the average, you know, maybe not the average, but someone who is a higher rate tax earner, it is in reality, when you factor in all of the stealth taxes, the VAT, the capital gains taxes, all the importation taxes and stuff that you're paying on your goods and services. Now we're not part of Brexit. You know, after Brexit, we're not part of Europe. So you stack all that up, and something calculated about 70 pence in the pound that you earn is going towards tax. Now, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, you can avoid that. As an investor, you can avoid that. You can do things to structure it. But if you're just an employee, you're there.
Yeah.
You know, there's no moves.
Yeah.
It's a scary place to be. So I think the next kind of thing I wanted to talk about, particularly with Bitcoin, is spending it. So, is it getting easier to spend it on your average type of transaction? How do you hold it? If you need to take money out of Bitcoin, how do you, translate that and use it to pay for, if you're buying a house or whatever?
Yeah. So in terms of spending it, there's another saying where fiat currency, so pounds, encourages you to spend. Bitcoin encourages you to save.
Yeah.
So like you don't really want to be spending your Bitcoin. It's like gold. You don't like it's an investment. It's to hedge against inflation. It's to store wealth. Bitcoin is more a store of wealth. However, you can spend it, and people do spend it. There is ways that it's becoming much more easy. It's more in overseas just now. So again, I'll go back to the likes of Argentina or Africa. They're using that currency. They're using Bitcoin as their main currency now. And there's El Salvador. Bitcoin is legal to enter. That's their main currency now in El Salvador. So they're using something called the Bitcoin Lightning Network, and it's another layer on Bitcoin that makes it faster and cheaper, because Bitcoin can be quite slow.
Yeah,
it's not the fastest. It's not the best crypto. It's not the fastest, cheapest. It's quite slow. It's quite expensive, Bitcoin. But they're making another layer on it where it's fast and cheap. So people in other countries, they'll use just their phone, basically, just the same as a like contactless payment. You'd use it for Bitcoin with the Lightning Network. So it's basically just contactless payments that people would use. I don't use Bitcoin to pay for anything.
No.
I never would. I use pounds to pay for stuff. If I'm buying a large asset, then I would either buy the large asset with crypto. You can buy cars with crypto. You can buy property with crypto. You can buy anything with crypto, basically. And either that can be done through a middleman, so they would facilitate the payment, or it can be done direct. In Dubai, every business accepts crypto, basically. You can buy anything in Dubai with crypto. So, or the other option, if I'm buying something in the UK, I would just liquidate my crypto into pounds in my Swissborg app, send it to my bank. It's done in 4-5 seconds. It's instant.
I think that's a really important point as well, to understand that it's an extremely liquid,
highly liquid. It's
it's not like property, which is probably as illiquid, especially in this market, as you can get.
Yeah,
you can have the bank, I guess, the money in the bank within 24 hours less.
Instant. I could do it right now. It's instant. It's instant, and there's a lot of really big benefits of crypto. That is one of them. How liquid it is. So you could be sitting on a lot of cash. You could be in a sticky situation, and it's there. It's liquid. It's instant. Another thing as well. So the likes of the portability of it. So if you've got like $1 million in gold, you're stranded. You're stuck. It's either in a vault somewhere, or I don't know how. Well, $1 million of gold wouldn't be the biggest, but it would be really heavy. How are you transporting that? You can't take that on a flight with you.
Physical assets, you've also got the insurance issue, right?
Yeah, exactly. So there's so many positives. Bitcoin, a good way to look at Bitcoin is a digital gold, but it's because gold is liquid if it's like kind of fractionalized, or if it's on a platform. Gold isn't the most liquid if you've got a big bar, and it's not divisible either. Like Bitcoin is infinitely divisible.
Yep.
A bar of gold, it's like shave a wee bit off.
Good job.
So there's so many different benefits of Bitcoin. Of course, it comes with, you need to like open up to the risks. So the risks of Bitcoin is, the main one, or the only one I can think of right now, is the volatility. So if you can't stomach volatility, if you can't afford to stomach the volatility, then it's a massive risk. Yes, avoid Bitcoin because it is volatile. It's openly volatile. Everyone knows that. So yeah, it's just weighing up the pros of Bitcoin, and then the cons, which is volatility. But to go back to the spending Bitcoin, in these countries, what people don't realise, I would always recommend people to watch a documentary called Banking on Africa, and it takes you to a small town in Africa, and it's these people use Bitcoin now to survive.
Oh.
And the reason it's so powerful in these countries, I give this example that if you are a hairdresser in Africa and you just done a hair job, it's $20. You get paid $20, but the next day with inflation, their $20 is like $10. It's just evaporating in their hands. So it's just continually going down. The likes of Argentina, it's just hyperinflation. It's different gravy. So in the UK, we see our inflation is really small. Like, people don't really notice it as much if they're not paying attention. Like, they say, no, my £20 is £20. It's that's what it is. But in these countries, their wealth is evaporating day on day. So they can make the change to Bitcoin. And even though Bitcoin's volatile, it's not inflating itself by 100% every day.
Yeah.
It's nowhere near that. Yes, it might fluctuate 10%, but that's like a stable coin for them in these countries compared to the government currencies. So a lot of these countries worldwide are using Bitcoin as their main form of currency now. And it's enabling them to grow wealth.
Yeah.
Rather than the government stealing all the wealth through inflation, in these villages in Africa, they're able to build up because they've got some sort of stable currency that they can build on, and then they can grow wealth. But that's where the kind of conspiracy comes into it, that they don't want you to do that. They don't want people to build wealth. They want them to use the government currency that just keeps them poor.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of countries all over the world now, like even Turkey, the inflation is insane. In Turkey, Bitcoin's really popular. Any country that inflation is rampant over 100%, the rate of which Bitcoin's being used there is at an all-time high. So it's just over time people learn, and it's in these countries that are less fortunate with the money system that Bitcoin is like it's the number one thing for them. It's like it's a gift from God, the Bitcoin, because it's like, oh, I can use this currency and my government won't devalue it. I can keep it. I don't need to show anyone it. Yeah. It's safe. It's secure. I can spend it here. I can do this. So it's beautiful for these countries. It's beautiful, and it's hard trying to explain it to someone from the UK, from America, that
is used to stability.
They've got access to debt. Like, everything here is built on debt. Everything's fake here.
Yeah.
In these poorer countries, you don't get access to debt, so like you need to build up your own money, which they can't do if they're using the government currency. So I think over time, we've mentioned how downhill the UK is going. Maybe as it progressively gets worse, then people will be like, oh, I understand Bitcoin now. I get it. I'm getting extremely poor here. I'm working double what I used to work, but I'm double as poor. What is the other options? And the other option is always Bitcoin.
There has to be, not just in Britain, but at a global level, concerns about government. Like, anybody that lived through COVID has to be concerned about the government and decisions that they're making. The decisions during COVID, just completely unjustifiable.
Yeah.
Even in retrospect, and nobody's really held to account for it.
Yeah.
For the massive amount of money that was just blown. Even the bounce back loans that were given out in the UK, it's shocking how many people that had a trading business had been open for 2 weeks, eligible for
grand,
taking 50 grand, declaring that they had at least 200 grand a year of revenue when they hadn't even started trading, and no accountability for it. Nobody checking.
Instantly accepted.
Yeah. I mean, I know so many people that did that, bought a car, shut the company down, and the government is starting to chase people, but, way too late, the horse is broke.
And
it's shocking. So, I really get it. I really get the whole appeal of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general. Let's talk a little bit about what you guys do at Crypto Glasgow and how you help people start their journey towards investment and grow their portfolio.
Yeah. So we are Crypto Glasgow is a consultancy. That's how we started, as a consultancy. it's slowly grown, and we've branched off into other businesses, like online businesses, where we've built a community, and we've got like an education platform where, on that platform, anything that you need to learn about crypto is on there. There's like video tutorials and stuff.
Yeah.
But overall, it's just a place where we are able to teach about cryptocurrency, the mistakes we've been through, the lessons we've learned, to share that with other people, and just drive home like messages that people need to hear in the good times and in the bad times. And when times are really good in 21, we says like times are going to get really bad. Like it happens every time, because when times are really good, this happens everywhere. People think, oh, this time it's different. It will go. We've got so many of those messages. Do you think this time it's different because Bitcoin is really high now? Everybody's in, like institutions are involved. It won't crash again. I'm like, no, it will crash. That's the false sense of security. So yeah, we're able to, through our online platform, we're able to basically just deliver education through there. But we've also got a consultancy, so it's just one-on-one consultancy, either calls or they'll come into our office for a consultancy session, and then we've got training days. So it's like a 5-day training course on crypto, where we just kind of try and fit in as much as possible from start to finish on crypto, what crypto is, then followed by investing in crypto, because you need to learn about what crypto is first before you even think about investing.
Yep.
Because
it's all very similar to what we're doing on the property investment side. You know, I think a lot of people just look at buy to let as a really straightforward thing. You buy a property, you rent it out, and it's not. It's extremely complicated, especially with government regulation, a bit of anti-landlord rhetoric, particularly in the Scottish government. You know, where you have to structure business in the right way. There are massive opportunities to save a huge amount of tax if you structure your business in the right way. And also understanding what a good property investment looks like versus bad, and again sharing those mistakes that we've made along the way, and getting to where we are, and building a community around that so people are supported. I think the funny thing about that, which I hadn't fully understood at the time, is there's a process that happens when you make that transition to consultancy and training, where you start to get just as much fulfillment out of seeing your clients succeed and their big wins as you do on your own. And sometimes that can be more fulfilling because it reinforces your ability to educate and help them execute.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly true. And I think with the consultancy, with the kind of coaching side of things, I would highly recommend it for anyone that's serious about property, about crypto. Get a coach, because they've been through it all. They've learned a lot of lessons, a lot of harsh lessons. They've lost a lot of money through those lessons. Yeah, they can help you. Anything that you want to do. I've got multiple coaches for different things. Weightlifting, accountability, fitness, like to keep me in line and to keep me on the right path. So yeah, if anybody is wanting involved in property, crypto, get yourself a coach, get yourself someone that's been there, and learn off them. Just submit to what they've been through and learn, take it all in. Coaches are key, and I think in this kind of modern day, I never knew I was going to get into the kind of coaching space like years ago if you asked me, but I think it makes sense in this modern world where everything's online, that no matter what it is you want to do, if you want to learn about cameras, go find a camera guy and learn off him, like that's been there and done it. Just go direct to the source. I think that's the beauty of the world we live in now, where everything is really accessible, easily accessible to like resources to learn from. So it's just picking what path you want to go down, picking what industry you want to be in, and just go find someone, go find a coach and take everything on board.
It's not like when I was a kid and you wanted to learn it and you had to go and dig out an encyclopedia somewhere.
Exactly, a library.
So much information now, and you know, you've not just got, you know, books and audio books and online platforms and communities. You've got podcasts, long form content, YouTube. You know, I'm yet to do DIY in the house without YouTube and how to do it.
Exactly.
We live in an information age, so you know, there's no way anyone should be going into these types of investments without that fundamental knowledge and support. I've heard you guys talk about generational wealth, and that's a big thing for us. You know, we started our property portfolio with the next generation in mind, not necessarily Laurie and I living this extravagant life. It was always about leaving some form of legacy. What is the goals in terms of generational wealth? And I think the other thing I'm quite interested in, purely out of my understanding, because I don't understand it, is the tax side of crypto. And, you know, if you hold the asset long term and you want to hand it over, you know, inheritance tax implications, you know, and whether or not any of that's avoidable. Obviously, we're structured our property portfolio now into a trust. So the assets aren't held there, but the shares in the company are, so it's protected from inheritance tax. So
yeah,
I'm just keen to understand how that sort of generational goal is and how it's passed down the line.
So in terms of tax, crypto is taxed on a capital gains tax basis.
Yeah. So you sell, you pay.
Yeah.
Don't sell, you hold.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of handing it down, if you're never realising profits, if you're never realising into a bank, if you're not coming back into the government system, I could pass my Bitcoin on to my family. I'm not, I would say I'm not a tax specialist, so whatever the law says about this is a different story. But my understanding is if I own a Bitcoin and I pass it down a generation, it's
tax free.
It's tax free, and that's the way I would play things. I don't know what the government will say about that in the future. With crypto, it's very grey area right now. There's no hard legislation that's out yet. Yeah. It's very wishy-washy. It's just capital gains tax. That's basically what it says in HMRC website.
And that's, you know, that's the beauty of investment at the end of the day is, you know, it protects a lot of the wealthy's wealth, because as long as you hold it, you know, you don't have to pay tax on it.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of the tax games that we play. You know, when we buy properties below market value and we refurb them, refurb costs can either be capital, i.e., you know, come off your capital gains if you ever sell the property, or it can be revenue against your rent. If it's revenue against your rent, it's tax deductible day one.
True.
If it's capital, then you may never get the benefit you never sell. So there's a big game to play there.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the beauty of capital gains tax. If you're in it for the long term and you hold, then you don't have to worry about tax.
And there's the insanity continues where in America they want to tax you on your unrealised gains.
I don't even understand how that would be possible, because it would require alignment on valuations at a given point in time, and then are they going to pay the money back if the value decreases in the asset in the following year?
It's just the insanity just snowballs and continues.
They spend way too much time fucking with the tax system, when the reality is we don't need a more complex tax system. We need a much simpler one, and it must be achievable, where the right people are being taxed the right amount, and the whole system is simplified. Yeah,
it's their spending that's the problem, rather than they getting tax off anyone. It's their reckless spending. And
the amount of deficit year on year is growing. You know, the government are spending huge amounts of money. I think it's like 300 billion on the NHS is one of their top expenses in the year. And the NHS is fucked. You can't get an appointment. You can't get in. It continues to cost more and more. I know loads of people that work for the NHS in these ancillary services, which have got nothing to do with delivering healthcare. The project management, it's a monster organisation.
Yeah.
And most of these guys spend 2 years on a project that never sees a light of day. You know, huge amount of money wasted. I mean, we could have a podcast moaning about the government all day long. But the simple solution is start investing in cryptocurrency and try and protect yourself to some degree on.
Yeah.
So, Declan, usually the last question I always ask on this podcast, always ask on this podcast is, what does real wealth mean to
you? Real wealth means freedom, I would say. I think over the past few years, it's wealth. My perception on wealth has changed with how much the world has changed, the landscape of the world has changed. I would class wealth now as freedom, so building up enough wealth, i.e. freedom, to the freedom of movement away from any overreach. So yeah, I would say that wealth to me is freedom. I know that's pretty broad, but that's what it is. That's why I'm generating wealth. That's why wealth is important to me.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it creates freedom. It gives me that freedom to move. Because since 2020, the fear has been there that like it's a battle.
Yeah.
Like it's a battle against the higher powers, basically. And generate as much wealth as possible to be able to go through that battle with the higher powers, and protect me and my family. So yeah, that's what wealth to me is freedom.
Yeah,
I would say. What would you say on wealth, to go back on that? What is wealth to you?
There's probably 3 key areas for me. Financial security is kind of a fundamental. Legacy is a massive part of it. I came to this realization in my late 20s that I was working in Azerbaijan for 5 years for a big oil and gas firm, and over the course of that time, I gave 5 years of my life to this project. We negotiated this deal, me and a small team of other people, not a lot of help from the organisation. We negotiated a deal with BP for a $500 million project. We then negotiated a deal with the local government to use their facility and upgrade it. And we then implemented that project and made something in the region of $20 million more than we budgeted and forecast. At the end of it all, I got a $12,000 bonus. I mean, I was well paid, but $12,000 one-time bonus.
It's a slap.
And it just opened my eyes to not only the fact that, I was building massive value for someone else without really any true remuneration to the value that I'm capable of bringing. And secondly, we worked on the Shah Deniz pipeline as diversification of gas away from Russia. So they're bringing gas from the Caspian. Big project, historic, but there will never be any recollection of the involvement that I was in that project, because I was a very small cog in a massive machine. And that to me got home in my late 20s. I was like, what is the point of this? I'm going to work, give my life to this organisation. I'd been in Azerbaijan, I'd missed birthdays, I'd missed weddings, I'd missed so many family occasions because I was away for what, a $12,000 bonus, and really no memory of my involvement in that project. I just thought, it has to be something more. There has to be some sort of legacy for me there that not only can I leave to my children financially, but like my life matter.
Yeah.
I didn't just earn a living.
No, that's class, because when you're saying legacy, I was thinking I don't feel that way. But when you explain it like that, that makes so much sense. I think maybe for me, like, I was doing roofing, so I had some sort of, like you're saying, well, I felt I had purpose because I was working for my mum and dad, basically. So I was out there every day. So that was like giving me that feeling of purpose, that I was doing something for them.
Yeah.
It's interesting the way you say it, that you were out there doing this massive project and it was like, oh, there's 12k, but thanks.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're not feeling valued to purpose there. So that makes sense in terms of legacy.
Yeah. And we done one of the first development projects we done was Temperance House in Falkirk, and even that to a small degree I can take a bit of legacy away from, because that is a listed building, historic in Falkirk Town Centre. It was the first place that one of the first places that John Logie Baird showed his new invention, the television, and he cast someone from one room to another in that building. Huge historic value. So we bought the building, we converted it into 6 flats, really high end, amazing listed building. The staircase is incredible. And we've decided to keep most of those flats. We sold one, but we're keeping the other 5. But I've got the legacy of turning that into from an old lawyer's office that wasn't used, this historic building, to now flats that will be there for hopefully generations to come. So those sort of projects are really important to me, and things like the Black Lock as well, where it's a fishery. We're trying to turn it into a holiday destination, and it has a potential to be quite a big site in the long term. Those are types of projects that you're getting to put your stamp on, and it's personal, and it's something that you can pass down. So that's an important part of kind of generational wealth to me. And I think that the real wealth, the other part of it is health and lifestyle, and taking the time to really understand what you want from life, because most people don't do that. Most people, think they want a big house or a nice car and all that, and the reality is the journey to get those things generally means people value them differently at the other end, and the attraction tends to go away. I mean, that's certainly the what most entrepreneurs feel about it. And for me, it's about having the time to understand what my life in its maximum value would look like. And I'm not there yet. I still don't understand it. There's times where I thought I wanted to be in Spain most of the time, and the practicalities of that aren't always great. I'm still figuring it out, but the reality is I've got the time, freedom and flexibility to be able to play about with that and figure out what's going to give my life the most value,
And it's the journey is everything. Like, it's as long as you're enjoying the journey.
Absolutely.
That's why if you've got a destination that's far away, you need to be able to enjoy the journey, or else what's the point?
Most entrepreneurs, the worst day in their journey is the day they get the big payout from selling the business, because they have no purpose after that. Fuck am I going to do? I've got a bank account full of money, but what am I doing today? What's my purpose? Then, loving the journey is the start to everything.
No, definitely.
So if anybody is looking to get in touch with you, find out more about Crypto Glasgow and what you guys do, how are they best to reach out?
So best protocol would be Instagram, so Crypto Glasgow on Instagram. I would say make sure that it's the official page. We've got about 20-30 different impersonator pages. But it's Crypto Glasgow that's spelt correctly for anyone that doesn't know.
I'll put it in the show notes anyway.
So Crypto.Glasgow on Instagram's probably the best place to find us, and then you can find everything off there, the website and stuff like that. But Instagram.
Excellent. Declan Kelly, thanks very much. It's been great to chat to you. Thanks.
Thank you, mate.
I've been Alex Robertson. This has been the Real Wealth Podcast, and thanks for joining us on this wealth journey.